And now we're going to hear from Jen Kimmel. Jennifer is a trans widow and a campaigner for women's rights, and she's based in Ireland. So her intervention is called 10 years since the Irish GRA, the Gender Recognition Act. So thank you very much for being here with us, Jen, and over to you.
In 2015, Ireland became the first country in the world to approve same-sex marriage by popular vote, with a result of 62% for and 38% against. We were all so happy. I remember being so happy myself, and I did not know at the time. But shortly after, on the back of this popular legislation, Ireland granted people the legal right to lie about their sex via the Irish Gender Recognition Act. Gender recognition certificate can be acquired by filling out a form that you can find online, a very short form, 2 pages, I think, and a solicitor signs it, and you pay €5. And that's it. And you can change your name at the same time, and the normal weight and fee for the deed poll is waived. And the Trans Equality Network Ireland played a pivotal role in the drafting of the GRA. TENI, we call them, TENI board member Adrian Aoife Martin later bragged that it somehow slipped under the radar. It's important to note that while TENI, Trans Equality Network Ireland, tries to put on a diverse face with a couple of trans-ID'd women and a non-binary demisexual bearded femme man on its main webpage, the organization has always been headed and populated by middle-aged and up fetishist ex-husbands and fathers. Some of them have been imported from the US and others from the UK, even though TENI uses anti-USA and UK rhetoric in their activism, but it'll recruit men from those countries if they are sufficiently misogynist and promote the targeting of children with TQ plus ideology. TENI's influence on the GRA is most apparent when you consider how punishing the act is to women. So while trans rights activists see Ireland as the gold standard of self-ID and claim no woman has been adversely affected, this is not true. Not for incarcerated women, not for women victims of rape and other male violence, and certainly not for the wives of the full-time fetishist men who avail of GRCs. I'm one such woman. We're called trans widows. So our husbands and ex-husbands have chosen to indulge a cross-dressing fetishist full-time, regardless to the expense to others. And the circumstances for trans widows in Ireland is grim, and it was set up to be so. So while women in the UK are somewhat protected by the spousal exit clause, in Ireland the requirement for applicants to obtain a divorce before getting a GRC was swiftly removed. So the wives of men who obtain a GRC are never informed at any stage of the process, and nor do we have any way to find out whether a GRC was obtained. So my ex-husband says he has one, but he's not really big on truth, and I don't know. I've been trying to find out, and there is no way that I can find out. So we can't plan for the future. We have no idea how it's going to affect us legally or financially or our kids in the future. And we can be sorting it out would be prohibitively expensive for most of us, because a very common method of abuse employed by our spouses or ex-spouses is financial abuse. Most of us are left with very little to try to get on with our lives. And with that, getting on with our lives is made as difficult as possible in Ireland. Trans widows are a threat to many because we can blow the trans thing wide open. We know exactly what's driving it, mostly male entitlement and porn. We've seen it, lived with it, and suffered under it. We know these men are formidably networked and have been for some time. And we know they work behind the scenes with government like they have in Ireland. Trans widows tend to employ very straightforward language and have learned very strong boundaries because we know exactly where compromise leads. So the men of TENI and their ilk did everything they could to make sure that no one would ever hear from ex-wives or children of these men. A few years after the big sneak of 2015, which is what I call it, when Irish women's voices were beginning to be heard above the trans activist lies, groups like Amnesty Ireland and the National Women's Council of Ireland, and on the board of 4, there's one man who is also was on the board of TENI. We call him Big Dave. Groups like Amnesty and the National Women's Council and individuals like the chairs of Women's Aid Ireland, which is supposed to help women suffered domestic violence, and Sligo rape crisis, signed a letter calling on media and politicians to no longer provide legitimate representation to women who question or criticize self-ID. So trans widows, already disenfranchised, and our allies were even further silenced. And all these people and organizations have doubled down since recent events with the CAS review in the UK, and things are happening rapidly in the US, and they continue to try to not only silence and vilify women, but use threats of violence against those of us who refuse to comply. And like most victims of domestic violence, trans widows get little to no help from the police, and Ireland's Garda Síochána are no different. I asked for help many times over the years, but got none. I was laughed at by male officers more than once when I tried to describe my situation, but the guards wasted no time landing at my front door a couple of years ago when a couple of local men complained when I tried to raise child safeguarding concerns about a BDSM furry cross-dressing fetishist from Tenny. They invited him to town for a tea and chat about the benefits of medicalizing LGBTQIA++ children. So the police came to my door to tell me off for that, but they never helped with my ex. Anyway, recently it was announced that Tenny and its close associates belong to will push Tenny's agenda in Irish schools and youth groups, will be funded through Ireland's national broadcaster, RTE, on a long-standing, cherished family Christmas program, the Late Late Toy Show. It's designated to fund a number of children's charities, yet the largest part, over €55,000, will go to Tenny and belong to. And still many in Ireland have no idea who's behind Tenny. And I try my best to let them know. I talk about Big Dave, father of 3. I talk about Tara Hewitt, the BDSM fairy fetishist brought over from the UK. And I talk about Dermot Breen, who's a Tenny board member who shared a cartoon that made fun of the fact that Dr. Cass is afraid to travel on public transport. He thought that was funny. I talk about Big Kevin, he must be 6'3" or 4, who said that cis women need to deal with TERFs, not just trans-identified men. And by deal with them, he means make them terrified, their lives in misery. Holding their hand doesn't work. Trust us, they made their choice. They need to be smashed out of existence. These are the men from Tenny. Another man, Sean, he's American. He's back in America now, but when he was here, he helped Tenny target children and frame men like himself as victims. He likes to share pornified cartoons with girls in pigtails, supposedly representing himself with bludgeons to beat women who won't comply. It goes on, but it's mostly married fathers, ex-husbands that are behind Tenny. I don't think people realize that, and certainly Tenny does not make that clear. There are some organizations trying to get a foothold in Ireland and they don't operate on a feminist or safeguarding principles, and they would have us believe that this is a complex issue with the toy show. And it isn't. It's paraphilic men are openly predating on children via a Christmas toy program, and our government is not only behind them, but helping to fund them. And Ireland is in a crucial place right now, influenced as it is by what's happening in the UK, in the US, in Europe. There's been a decided shift to straightforward language, and Ireland must tap into this. There's no need for a compromise or a one-step-at-a-time approach. We really don't have time for more gender gibberish that simply muddies the waters and perpetuates what we claim to be fighting. Those of us who resisted call it gender shite. We don't need any more gender shite. We're done with it. It's like trying to go forward with square wheels while everyone else is using round. When it comes to women's rights and boundaries and child protection and safeguarding, clear, accurate, accessible language that cuts through the noise is essential, and we cannot protect children while compromising the boundaries of women on behalf of predatory men. And my experience of abuse is one of the reasons why I resist so strongly the idea that protecting children from trans, gender, TQ, whatever, can be achieved without protecting the rights and boundaries of women. Strong boundaries are the most basic way we have to keep kids safe. A lot of these men hate women because we stand between them and the kids. When the boundaries and rights of their mothers are compromised or trampled more slowly, when women are dismissed as extremists or ultras or rad femmes or activists or whatever, our kids are more vulnerable. women are the first line of defense they have against predators, and we can't protect kids by sidelining or vilifying women while throwing the doors wide open to those that want to argue that essential boundaries are up for debate and safeguarding is nothing more than an inconvenience. These trans rights activists will say it's about a balance of rights, but it isn't. It's about power and domination and controlling and wasting women's time to keep us running in place, to wear us down. And the paralysis that results from this might be profitable for some who insist that resistance is useless or shameful or somehow fragile. But our hands aren't tied, and we can say no loudly and clearly for as long as it takes, and we will. But on a more positive note, I want to talk about Not All Gays Ireland. It's a relatively new group of young lesbians, gays, and bisexuals that are working together to highlight and champion the experiences, rights, and protections of lesbian, gays, and bisexual people in Ireland. And they recently held an amazing conference. They had people from all over. They had Sel Grover piped in from Australia, and they had people from the UK, from Scotland, from America, and they talked about a whole range of things. They talked about child safeguarding. They talked about surrogacy. I spoke as a trans widow and the effects of the Gender Recognition Act. And these young people are the way forward. I can't tell you what it means to me because I have kids their age who are variously captured still. And to see these young people fighting against this in Ireland is huge for me. And they are brilliant. The head is a lesbian woman called Annie Birdie, and her partner, not her partner, her co-head is Sean Hutchinson, a gay man, and they are really the way forward in Ireland, and I have so much hope because of them and what they're doing. So look them up. They're on Twitter as Not All Gays, and they truly are brilliant. And that's me, I think. Thank you.